Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. We are here, it's Rich and Rob. We're back together, we're reunited. It's like a really good episode of Coronation Street where everything just kind of works out nicely, except, Rich, we haven't sat down, we haven't spoken about the first test, which we will do, but today we're going to be looking at the second test, previewing what's going on there. But to know where you're going, to know what changes you're going to be making, you've got to know what's gone on, Rich. And I know you've been boiling inside for the last few days while we've not spoken about this. How have we calmed down from the first test?
I wasn't angry, Rob. I was just disappointed.
Oh, that's brutal.
Joe, I'm sorry. I'm just disappointed. History informs, Rob. This is how we can look ahead to the second test, isn't it? I'm not going to go through every moment, every little thing that happened in that first test, but taking it all the way back to the start, I don't understand. Well, I do understand the toss. I understand Nasser Hussain. We love Nasser Hussain.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's Nasser's fault, but it's not really Nasser's fault. If Joe Root and Chris Silverwood and everybody else had rocked up at that field or a field on that pitch that looked like that track that looked like that green, beautiful seamer, they would have won the toss. Well, they would have hoped to win the toss, and then they would have had a bowl.
Yeah.
But because of the history of the Gabba, because of this mystique and mystery that sort of surrounds the place, the old woolen Gabba, they have to bat. They have to play a spinner. It's not hindsight. It's not correcting things after we saw how it went. We should have bowled. We should have gone with Stuart Broad. I'm just really confused. And again, I'm not criticising Jack Leach for how he bowled. If we only put up whatever it was, 147, he's not got much to bowl at. And the Aussies are going to go after him. It's what we did in 2005. That's probably our first memory of England counter-attacking properly, isn't it, against Australia? If you skittle a team out for 150, first thing you do, as soon as the spinner comes on, bang, get after him, get him out of the game, done. And that's exactly what they did. Fantastic performance from Australia. Can't take anything away from them. England they fought back, and I did think for a little while we was going to have repeats of 10-11. Haven't mentioned 2010.
Gave you hope?
Ages. Yeah, exactly. Day 4. I didn't watch a lot of this. I've been cold, all that sort of stuff. So apologies. But yeah, I mean, I saw bits and bobs of it. I saw some highlights, but then I saw start of day 4, Milan, Root, both sitting on about 80 not out. I thought, this is it. This is day 5 of the Gabba, 10-11. This is Cook 100. This is Alistair Cook double 100. This is the other guy, Jonathan Trott. He got a nice 100 as well. I joke. I remember it was him. 500 odd for one declared draw. I thought this is what we can do again. We're going to bat all day through on day 4. We're going to set them a bit of a target. It'll end in a draw. Happy days. We go forward. But it's just brittle, isn't it? Brittle batting from England, and bowling as decent as it was. If you're not going to put runs on the board, it's not going to mean much, is it? I just want to give a little hat tip. I thought Hasib Hamid batted well.
Yes.
He didn't get the score he deserves. And this is where we're going to start getting question marks over Hasib Hamid. Can he progress from his 20 odds to 50 odds to 75 odds to 100 odds? And that's just my concern with him at the moment. I really am a big fan of Hasib Hamid. I'm not singling him out for any reason, but it's just because I think he's took to it well.
Yeah,
I've got to quickly get it off my chest. Shane Warne, shut up. All right. He plays low. It doesn't matter. Oh, he plays low in Australia. He won't succeed. Oh, he won't. It's final, is it? It's absolutely set in stone, is it? Why do we have to be so definitive with opinions?
Yeah.
Hasib Hamid is a gritty player that plays well. He plays late. Yes, he plays low, but I'm sure there's been a batsman at some point over the years that plays with a little bit low hands. It's not like he's like playing hockey, is it? Swishing the ball off the ground. Jesus, give it a break, Warner.
And he was looking good. He was looking really, really good off the front foot, the back foot, and then just gloved one with his low hand. But irrelevant. He was looking really good.
Why? Oh, well, he didn't get out all the other balls, all the 74 balls before that with his low hands, did he?
Exactly.
So,
exactly. I was quite impressed with Hamid. I thought he looked really good. I need to ask you, what was your initial reaction to Rory Burns waltzing around the crease first ball and then Mitchell Starc taking his leg stump out?
It was Harmison hitting second slip all over again, wasn't it? First ball of an Ashes sets the tone. Like this, that you don't let Australia get ahead. And this is why, we'll go back to that choice on the first morning whether to bat or bowl. It's why we go back to choice. I think Stuart Broad should have played instead of the spinner. You allow Australia to get ahead, whether it's in a spell, a session, a series, whatever, they're going to keep going. And we're in a hole now, and it's going to be really difficult to get ourselves out of this.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the makeup of this team is. First ball, that sets the tone, doesn't it? Rory Burns. I think he was so obsessed. I had some back and forth with people on Twitter about this. It looked awful. It was a bad shot. He got himself in an awful position, but he was that obsessed with getting onto off stump and getting a good stride in to get the ball, to get a leave, whatever it might be, that he forgot about his leg stump and he just got too far across. His feet got in a bit of a mess. Forget about what he does with his hands and his head and all the rest of it. His feet just got in a mess, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. I mean, if that's second ball of the innings, he flicked that for 4.
Yeah,
but it's a bit like
it was a leg stump half volley. Let's be honest, it was a leg stump half volley.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's one of those. I think it was the fact that it was the first ball of the first test of the Ashes Down Under series, and I think Burns was just so preoccupied by getting across, getting onto his off stump that he just forgot about his other stumps. Yeah, which it can happen.
Does it put him in line to be the next Mark Rampakash and go on Dancing with the Stars though? Because that footwork could do well on a dance floor.
Did not expect that to be the question to follow up on that. What's my answer? Probably is I don't care, but also yes, probably he's got nice hair, so maybe he'll look lovely in a sequined suit. I think he'll look very nice on Dancing with the Stars or whatever it's called.
It's an interesting podcast. We're ranting and we've talked about Coronation Street and Dancing with the Stars before we've got onto the second test. So
we talked about. You mean you?
All right. I'm. It's been 6 years since I've been out. I'm rolling back in nostalgia, mate. I'm going to stick on Emmerdale Farm in a minute and see Frank.
Oh my word. Oh my word! It's Emmerdale now, not Emmerdale Farm. Look, Joe Root is a captain. Joe Root didn't have his strongest test as a captain. Joe Root will be really, really eager to come back, and I just hope that England don't overcorrect with selection and decisions. They need to forget the Gabba, forget Brisbane, good old Bris Vegas, and just move forward to Adelaide. All right, don't worry about what's happened. It's already gone. We're 1-0 down. We've got 4 tests to write it, and if we believe the theories, we're going to win 2 tests already. They're guaranteed, Rob. It's pink ball day-nighters. England will win. It's simple.
Yep, I agree. A controversial pick of Hobart being the 5th test match, day-nighter, which has not gone down well with your newly acquainted best friend, Shane Warne, who's like, oh, you can't have 20,000 people at a test, mate. Like, you've got to put it in Sydney or you've got to put it somewhere else.
So has Warney never played in England?
Obviously not, mate. Obviously not.
And what's the attendance at Trent Bridge? What's the attendance at Durham? What's the attendance? He's such a moron sometimes. And I even said on the preview pod, you know what? I like Warne. You know what? I take it all back. He's gone back to full dick mode, hasn't he?
Yeah. I was actually surprised, talking on the commentary. I obviously watch a lot more Australian commentary than you guys being down here. Santa's in there. There we go. There's another nostalgia throwback. Santa's here.
Santa Claus.
And I actually have really liked Shane Warne, and I've liked it when he's been part of the English commentary booth in England commentating. And I always thought he had a really, really good value, insight, and incredible tactical knowledge of the game.
Yes.
And then the first day of the Ashes came around. I'm there because my TV's there, but it was almost like they were as excited as all the fans and they couldn't reel it back in. They were so pumped and all I could hear was, mate. It was literally like Finding Nemo.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, mate. I was up obviously quite late at night, parts of it. The volume was down. It was simple as that. The volume was down. I was looking into it and I was just watching the pictures. It was fine. That was the best way to do it. I can't remember who the pair was, but was it Kerry O'Keefe and somebody who was on with him? And it was like, oh, this is so nice. After listening to Warne and War and whatever it was, suddenly we had like the other comms come on and it just eased things down. It relaxed. It was like we're a test match again. You're not doing the Big Bash, boys. It's not the IPL. Nice and relaxed. It was much better. So I
like O'Keefe. Funny.
He's steady, isn't he?
But insightful. Got a lot of analysis. And I also really like Mike Hussey when he's on and Gilchrist. I think they're good.
Yes. Yeah. I love Gilchrist anyway. Yeah. Oh, no. So Gilchrist is going to do something stupid in the second test now, isn't he? So now I've said I love Gilchrist. Damn, no. So quickly wrapping up, I think, like I said, bowlers, I think all bowled okay. Wood, for me, it's my big criticism of Wood over the years has always been he doesn't take enough wickets. Yeah. And I think that's, until proven differently, that's constantly going to be my big criticism. Although he did, take 3 in the first innings, didn't he? I don't know where to look really in this performance of England. It's not quite as bad as it's not end of the world stuff, is it? Isn't it?
I think we've lost by 9 wickets and we got bowled out with the first ball of the Ashes. We batted on a bowling wicket and we left 1,100 test wickets out on the bench carrying drinks.
Right. Well, I disagree strongly with that. But what I'm saying is the performance. 147 I agree to a point with what Jhye Root said. If we get another 150, if we get 250, 300 in that first innings, forget about forget about the fact that we shouldn't have been batting first. But if we get 250, if we get 300, which we should have done, it's a different game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Australia, credit to them, they bowled well. We have to accept that Australia bowled very well on a green seamer that we're saying we should have bowled on, a green seamer, and it had a bit of life in it, didn't it? Had a bit of juice. If England had bowled on that, I absolutely believe England would have bowled Australia out for a similar score, maybe 200, around that sort of level. So England were under par batting regardless of conditions, but they shouldn't have been batting first anyway. But you take away that first innings, which you can't really do. But after that, they played a pretty good test match. Travis Head, I've not mentioned him yet, but Travis Head was exceptional. He took his opportunity, didn't he? It was him or Usman Khawaja going in. He took his opportunity big time. Pat Cummins, exceptional on his first game as captain. Lovely guy. He's the sort of lad you'd take home to.
Good bloke, isn't he? He's like a less fast Brett Lee. Like, just nice bloke. Brett Lee was a nice bloke.
Good bloke. Yeah. Glenn McGrath. I'll leave that hanging. Yeah, no, I'll give you hero. But yeah, so fair play to Australia. All good for them. Let's move on to Adelaide. Adelaide's a great place.
Adelaide. Right.
Adelaide.
Day Nider, that's fine. David Warner, starting off with the Aussie
Big
team
news.
news. David Warner, I've not seen the official comms from Cricket Australia, Cricket AU, that's cricket.au.com or whatever they want to say it, saying he's out, but he's got poorly ribs. He got hit in the ribs.
Who got him?
I thought he got hit a couple of times, to be honest, but he did lead a very... I don't know. I highly praised him in the review pod that I did yesterday and said I was amazed by the amount of grit and determination he gave to fight for the Aussies, and I really appreciated that. But we gave him a lot of chances. But anyway, he's got bad ribs, looks like he's going to miss the game, and that leaves Australia with Marcus Harris opening the batting.
Mm-hmm.
He's not very good at Test cricket, Rich. He's averaging 23, which is less than Keaton Jennings.
So I'm not going to say anything because I feel like whenever I do say something too dramatic that it then backfires. So Marcus Harris is a perfectly fine, very good first-class cricketer who hasn't quite found his feet. He's very English in that respect, that he hasn't quite found his feet in opening in Test cricket. So he would be more than at home in the English lineup. He's going to, but he takes on a senior role now, doesn't it? And it's all about, it's not just about you on your own anymore. He's the senior opener. He's got to go out there. He's got to lead the way. It's more than likely going to be an inexperienced player supporting him in that opening spot if Warner can't make it. Obviously, Warner didn't even come out to bat, did he, in the second innings for Australia finishing the game off to move Carey up the order. So the options, Rob. Bryce Street.
Yep.
Is it Henry or Harry Hunt?
Yep, Mr. Hunt. Yep.
Hunt, Mr. Hunt. We'll find out. I'll get a confirmation. Henry Hunt. Sounds like a name from the 40s, doesn't it? Henry Hunt.
It does.
And one little bit more familiar is Matt Renshaw. He has played some Test cricket, but Bryce Street and Henry Hunt both opened in the Australia A game against England Lions, which they, again, it's going pretty well for Australia at the minute. They beat England Lions by 112 runs in that 4-day game. So they're the two options, but Bryce Street, he got himself a nice score, didn't he, Rob? He got himself 119 not out.
He looked good.
Got himself, Hunt got 14 that second innings, Renshaw 43, and in the first innings, Hunt 33, Renshaw 38. So good starts for Hunt and Renshaw in both games. Renshaw batting at 3, but obviously he has been an opener over the years. Yeah. Bryce Street though with a big score. So who do you think is going to be the man that's going to take that spot and join Marcus Harris?
I'm going to be honest, and I'm not sitting on a fence, but I'm not 100% certain that it could even be the 3 names we've mentioned. It wouldn't surprise me if they pull out an Usman Khawaja and go, Usman, you've opened for us before. You've come in and done a job opening the batting for us previously. Averages 84 from 4 Test matches opening. He didn't score a run against England Lions, but he could be an option where they've got a certain level of trust of him coming in. It's really interesting Australian cricket because you've had Warner playing around for ages, and in the last 5 years, you've given Joe Burns 10 Test matches, you've given Renshaw 10, you've given Bancroft 10, you've given Harris 11, and you're just constantly juggling the mixer. And
Yeah.
Burns averaged 35, Renshaw 33, Bancroft 26. That kind of puts him out, plus sandpaper. It's a really strange point. So to me, if I'm an Australian cricket fan and I've got two young, exciting players, if it was David Warner at the crease with them, I'd be like, chuck them in, throw them in with Warner. But I feel apprehensive for them. I definitely don't have sympathy that it would be Harris, who is a little bit of a walking wicket, and then you're putting in a new young lad to go and face Jimmy and Brody at Adelaide, which could be really hard work. Bryce Street's exceptional. He's averaged just below 40. The last three Sheffield Shield championships, scored 4 centuries, plus this one here. He's now got 5. And Hunt can play cricket. He's got 2 centuries this year, one against Western Australia, one against Tasmania. He's in decent form. He got 50 in a List A game before this England Lions game. Like, I don't know. If you're looking at it, you probably go, Henry James Hunt, HJ Hunt for old school money, is probably the guy who they want to give a go to. We know Pekowski is the end goal, the end game of where they want to get to. I just wonder if they do throw Khawaja a safety net in and go, we back you for a few test matches, mate.
I think that would be quite un-Australian. And, you know, they've got themselves up 1-0 against Australia. Against England. They've got that aggressive mentality going, haven't they? Now? This is what happens in Ashes series. If this was a different series, I think that they might well go to a Khawaja opening. I think it's a good shout by you. I just think that the way they're going, they should be bold. They should be really sort of, you know, upfront and like, we'll put anyone in there. We'll put, you know, Jeffrey Boycott's grandmother up there with a stick of rrhubarb, and she could take on this England bowling attack. You have to check the passport, obviously. Probably quite English.
Scanning.
Yeah. But David Warner, we talk about sneaky old in England. He's 35 now, David Warner. Yeah. He's not going to be around forever. You know, we like to think he might be. Pantomime villain that he has been over the years, but he's been an exceptional player. It's been great for Test cricket. He's one of the people, a bit like Gilchrist as a wicketkeeper batsman, Warner as an opener in Test cricket. It changed the game. He didn't just come along and just be another opener and play the way openers have always played. He came in and showed that you can be almost one-day international batsman in Test cricket and play aggressively. So he's been really just so important. But like you listed off all those openers, it's like very much like England, just at a lesser level. But they've been striving and, you know, searching for that opener for so long. We still haven't replaced Andrew Strauss. Forget about Alistair Cook. Australia got the same thing. So you've got to look for the next opener. I think Usman Khawaja, it will be what I'd call an un-Australian pick. They should be bold. They should be aggressive. They should go forward and they should go and pick one of those young blokes, whether it's Renshaw, who's got the experience, or whether it's Hunt, or whether it's the man in form, Quality Street, whatever his name is, then get them in. Then just play him. Don't worry about it. He's playing England. Don't show any weakness. Don't show any conservatism whatsoever. And just go with who you think is going to be the guy going forward, and just stick with him. And then if Warner's fit for the third test and the new bloke does okay, well, you ditch Harris and you go forward with the new bloke. Simple as that.
That's fair enough. I like that. It is an Australian pick from me, which isn't surprising. But I am these days the sort of guy that has a 6-pack of beer and I'm quite happy to leave one for the next day rather than finishing off all 6 in the session. Whereas the Aussies would drink all 6 in the same session. They wouldn't leave one for the next day.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, talking of supping all the beers, actually, just at one other point, David Boone, legendary beer can chugger on an aeroplane, he was the match referee, wasn't he, that decided that England aren't getting paid for that first test. So even though they got absolutely hammered, couldn't decide on a toss right, couldn't pick a team right, couldn't bat right, bowled okay, but couldn't win a game right, they didn't get paid. 100% of the match fee gone for slow over rate. The game finished in 4 days. That's weird. I mean,
£27,000 per player.
It's a lot of money.
Imagine going to work and someone going, "Sorry, mate, you've worked too slow this week. I'm not paying you."
Well, I mean, there's probably some places like that around already, but yeah, I get the point. It's a little bit OTT, isn't it? I mean, was it something that was being spoken about a lot during the game? Was it something that was impacting the game? You were watching it ball by ball.
Ball by ball. Not massively. They spoke about slow over rate, but likewise, it's not like they could bowl Jack Leach to try and make the over rate faster because they kept having to fetch the ball from the stands.
Well, that's it. Did they add that up? Did they add those minutes on? So, look, I think that was a little bit harsh. And I think David Boone, I'm not questioning you, son, but I feel like he was probably enjoying writing those slips out for the players. Just quickly as well, while I'm talking about it, I'm just gone down that pathway of match fees being removed. Travis Head, after his 100, was it in the second inning? No, it was first innings, wasn't it? 15% of his match fee gone for one of the most fantastic reasons ever. We had issues with the technology in this test, didn't we? No balls weren't being called. Ben Stokes, if he'd have been called early, there's probably an argument to say that he's moving his run up back a little bit, runs in a little bit slower, and he's not a no ball when he gets a wicket, which he obviously didn't get in that moment. Stump microphone even was working when Travis Head. I thought that was brilliant, Rob. I must have watched that 50 times in a row. It's like a 5-second clip, isn't it? As Travis Head playing and missing and saying something that I know in club cricket, you cannot say the C word too much.
It ends up in a suspended sentence or a ban.
It was a 2-match ban and a suspended sentence.
Yeah.
And I was right.
For those that haven't seen it,
the person was.
He plays and misses on a cut shot, which is fine. And we all swear under our breath. He swore quite loud at himself. And he referred to someone called Michael Hunt, or something that might rhyme similar.
Michael Hunt?
You, Michael Hunt? Was very similar to what he said. So that was highly amusing. It's done the rounds on Twitter quite fondly as well. So
yeah,
I enjoyed that, mate.
Another Australian, and I like him for it now.
Another Australian change. Josh Hazlewood, who is a fantastic cricketer, one of the top 10 bowlers in Test cricket for quite a while now. Bowled superb. Got Joe Root out for a duck. Well, he didn't start bowling much in the second innings, and it turns out after Marnus turned around and went, "Yeah, he's all right, mate. No run. He'll be all right. No run. He's got a side strain. He's going to miss the second test. No run, and they need to find a replacement." Rich, I can't stop saying no run. I love Marnus. How good is Marnus to watch play cricket?
He's solid, isn't he? He's solid, absolutely solid. Yeah. I think there was a bit of a discussion of whether or not you'd be playing Jhye Richardson from the start. So you'd expect him to come in. So that's really, really, strength to strength, isn't it? If Hazlewood does miss out. It's worth knowing Hazlewood has got an exceptional record in day-nighters as well. I think it's 32 wickets at just under 20, which actually is probably not quite as good as Pat Cummins and Stark's record in day-nighters. So just something we're going to start building towards that in a moment, because there's like I said earlier, there's this theory out there that pink ball and day-nighters, Kimmy Anderson's going to take 20 wickets and we're going to win the test match. Not so. So just while we get there, Australia have won 8 out of 8 day-nighters in Australia, and even bowled India out for 36, I think, in the 4th innings of the game last year, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Kind of a year ago. Yeah. I mean, David Warner's he's missing, but he's hit a 300 against the pink ball. So let's just, we're going to get to it in a minute, but let's just put it all into context. But yeah, Hazlewood's been an exceptional player. He's someone that Pat Cummins as the new captain can just rely on. Mitchell Stark's going to go for a few runs, isn't he, here and there? He's going to spray the odd one. Yes, he will bowl someone on a leg stump half volley, but he will also get panted down the ground a little bit. But yeah, big miss for Hazlewood. Richardson, I'll just put it back to you. Jhye Richardson or Michael Neser. Glamorgan's Michael Neser look like they're the two options to come in. Yep, Neser's solid. He's almost been on the sidelines of Australian cricket forever. Picked up 5 sticks at the weekend playing against England Lions. He'll take them. He's sticks. That's how I'm talking these days. 5 sticks. And he's a consistent performer, mate. He's good. 33 wickets in 2018, 33 the following year, 18 wickets at 24 last year. Came across to Glamorgan for county cricket this year, 23 wickets at an average of 16, and went, thanks, mate, got T-shirt, completed it. I'm going to go back and play Sheffield Shield on some roads. This is too easy. So it wouldn't surprise me if you saw him drafted in, maybe drafted in. They might draft him in. It feels a little bit World War II, but they might draft him in. 236 wickets at an average of 24. It's an exceptional record in a place where you really do need to be a good pace bowler to have a really good average in Australia. Otherwise, you're going round the park, mate.
Yeah. I mean, Neser, you've got the benefit that he has played English conditions. He knows his English batsmen inside out. So much so that, he did get that 5 for 29 against England Lions and ripped open the top order, didn't he? England looking for maybe a bit of batting depth with a travelling Lions party. Yeah, not much there at the minute, lads. Sorry to say that to you. So Michael Neser, that would be his Test debut. I think it'd be a bold one. He's 31 now, isn't he? But Jhye Richardson, he made his debut, Rob, at the Gabba in a day-nighter in 2019, took 5 for 45. So he likes the lights.
He's good. He's good, mate. He swings it with a cricket ball, old or new ball, can swing it, and he can swing it in and out. And offer a certain level of control. And we spoke on the preview pod, his record is exceptional. He's got 23 wickets at 13 this year in Sheffield Shield, 27 at 19 a couple of years ago. But also, when you look at him against right-handers, mate, this is absolutely phenomenal. He's averaging 5 against them this year with the ball. 5. Yeah. Against right-handed batsmen, he's averaging 5. And that's just breaking the game. He's doing something that shouldn't be allowed to be done. But it's not a fluke, because in 2018-19, he averaged 9 against them. So he's very good at playing cricket. He's very good at bowling. And he's, there's a reason that they're like, oh, we need to get him in. We need to get him in. Well, it's hard when you've had the same 4 bowlers that bowled for the Aussies with the same 4 that bowled in 2017. They're that solidified in that the approach and strategy and the players that they put out on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we know how strong this attack is. So, depth seems there as well. So it's not going to get any easier for England. Just worth noting, actually, I've just got an article in front of me. Australia have not made any additions to the squad for the second test. So it could well mean, with Usman Khawaja being the spare batter, it could well be that he does take on Warner's spot if... So unless anything's changed since this article came out, this in front of me, then maybe it will be Khawaja. Just talking about that. But yeah, Nisa is an option. Obviously, Jhye Richardson is an option as well. What about England, Rob? What's the thoughts on England? Any injury concerns there?
I think the only one to talk about is what we feel Ben Stokes' role is going to be. So Stokes has come into this with limited preparation. He had time out, which is great and good for him. But he had surgery on his finger as well, which restricted his ability to bowl and to bat. Rained off for 3 weeks while a monsoon just decided to roll through Australia on the warm-ups. And then he turned up and bowled in the first test, and he bowled 14 no balls that weren't called in the first session or something like that. And it didn't look like Ben Stokes bowling. And bowling, when I watched him bat, I was like, oh, he's got loads of time. He's looking real nice, actually. But when I watched him bowl, I was like, oh, that's quite hard. And then he tweaked his knee, and he didn't bowl much after that. So what are we expecting? What's your expectation as England cricket fans switching it on at 3:00 in the morning, Adelaide day-night test? What do you get out of Ben Stokes in this test?
I think you've got to go back to what we had before with Ben Stokes, and you've got to almost say he's one of your best 6 batsmen. And in this team, he certainly is. He looked nice at the crease. He looked like he had some time, didn't he, when he was batting?
Yeah.
He looked like he's getting in line, getting behind the ball. He's on the way. It's one of those, isn't it? He wasn't quite there in this first test, but he's not far off. His defensive, techniques in order, just ready for the other side of Ben Stokes now. Yeah. With the ball, I think we go to the point of don't have any expectations. I think he's a bonus. I think if we need to break a partnership, I think throw him the ball. Have someone standing at mid-on, mid-off, actually looking at his front foot and telling him to get back a bit. If the umpires or the technology isn't going to do that, because it does not help anybody if you're letting a guy overstep. Rob, all the time in nets or anywhere. He's certainly not on the field, because this is the pathetic nature of is that if you so what's the point? It's just a waste of time, isn't it? So just get yourself sorted. So yeah, low expectations for me with Ben Stokes going into the second test. I think if that is the case, I think that they will want to go with 4 seamers.
Okay.
It's a difficult one because Nathan Lyon, South Australian, he does have a very good record at the Adelaide Oval. So it's a really tough one. I don't think England would want to go in like that. The other shout is whether or not Butler could go up the order one and they bring Bess in at 7. I think it's over promoting him, but they really like Bess. They like him as a batsman. His bowling has been okay, but you will not get. I don't think they'll play Leach if they want that extra bowler in there. If they want 4 seamers and Leach, I don't see. I mean, I suppose Wokes could play at 7, but it's weakening that bowling attack, isn't it?
So what we're saying is we've got a top 6. Sure, they didn't play well, but we're not changing the top 6. We're still having Butler at 7.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Unless Butler could go to 6, but, you could theoretically drop Pope if you wanted to get the extra. What I'm saying is, if Ben Stokes cannot bowl and you want 5 bowlers, are you going to rely on Joe Root as your spinner? I don't think you would you, in this test?
I don't know, mate. And I'm struggling with the selection dilemma like you, because England won there in 2010. Graham Swan got 5 for bowling in the 4th innings and span them to victory. Superb stuff. But at Adelaide, seamers averaged 26, spinners averaged near on 40. So what are you trying to get from your spinner if you're England? We've misused Don Bess in the past. We've misused and neglected Jack Leach and then said, hey, come and have a bowl in the Ashes, even though we only play you on pitches that are absolutely ragging miles. Come and have a bowl on this green seamer and see how you go, mate. When Aussies have got, they've got degrees in GBH against spinners for years. I don't know what we're trying to do with the spinner. I felt Root gave us better control than what Leach did, just because they're going to target him. And if he comes on and bowls here, they're just going to do exactly the same. And if we do the same approach to them, where we bowl him with the fielding and we're trying to take a wicket, what do you expect? Like, give the man some cover if you're going to play him.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Leach, for me, I don't allocate too much blame to him. Yeah, I'm sure he could have bowled a little bit better, but he's played so little cricket, so little Test cricket. And as you said, they brought him out onto a decent seaming deck that came on. It's really a tough one to kind of to mark him and grade him and say he's this, he's that. It's not fair on him at the moment. But the way England are, the mentality of England when it comes to bowlers, and especially spinners, if you can't bat, you're going to struggle to fit into a team when you need to jig the balance around a little bit. Now, Stokes, as a 4th seamer, allows you to play a spinner at 10 or 11. Absolutely no problem. But if Stokes isn't there as a seamer, there's no one else in that top 6 that's suddenly bowling seam up, is it? Dawid Malan is suddenly not changing to say, so what do we need to do? We need to then rejig potentially. And this is me thinking what England will do. And I wonder whether or not they'll push Buttler up and play. We spoke offline a little bit before, whether Wokes plays. We've got to make room for Anderson and Broad in this test. You cannot not play Anderson and Broad 2 tests in a row. You have to play both of them. Get them in. They're the guys that are going to carry you over the line. That's the experience in this attack. Give them some bloody respect. You know what I mean? It's like I found it bizarre that Broad missed out in that first test. But you're going to get those 2 boys in, so you need to move 2 out. Now, you could bring Bess in, and you could then keep Wokes in, and that would be a 7 and 8. And yes, it's not as good as it would be if you left Pope in, but it gives you that bowling, and it gives you a bit of a comfort blanket, a bit of insurance in the batting lineup.
I see where you come
from. I don't know.
From.
I don't think it makes us a strong team. I think we're still weak if we do that, but I think that might be the way England start thinking if Stokes isn't an option.
Gives the bowling attack better balance. To me, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, who played really well? Well, Ollie Robinson was second best bowler of the game. He was superb behind Pat Cummins. Mark Wood put in an incredible amount of effort, beat the outside edge, and every single time was bowling 150 Ks. And I was so impressed. Yeah. Can he go do that in back-to-back tests? It's a question mark about his injury. So they may look at Mark Wood, even though he played so well, and go, we're going to give you a break on this one. Bring in Anderson and Broad, and then either play the spinner or play Chris Wokes.
It's a really tough one. There's not a straightforward answer for this one. And I'd just like to put something on record about Mark Wood. I do say he doesn't take enough wickets in Test cricket. That's just what I feel, all right? Yeah. That's not to say that I don't think Wood is an exceptional character to have around the camp, having the team. Effort is always there with him. Pace is there, and that's what we don't have in the other bowlers. No little skill as well. He's a very, very good bowler. He ticks a lot of boxes. I just don't think he takes enough wickets. That's not to say you don't have him in the team on occasions when the pitch will give you that reward to have the extra pace in there. So I just want to kind of make sure that that's clear, that I'm not a anti-Mark Wood in any way. Big fan of Mark Wood, but I just don't think he takes enough wickets. I think the only way that England are going to find a balance to this team is to play the one less batsman, and that's a bold move in Australia, because you've got to score runs.
With this team, though, mate. This team is woeful with the bat, like bordering on sending them a Bob Woolmer's Guide to Cricket to go have a look at this. It's because it's just not working out.
Yeah.
You saw the openers. The openers have been cleaned up for a duck. 9 out of every 10 test matches this calendar year, with 12 ducks from 13 games. It's an abysmal record. We average less opening the batting than Zimbabwe this year. That makes us the worst. How do you win this game? There you go. How do you win this game? Regardless of who's available, how do you win this game at Adelaide?
You've got to score runs early. You got to, your first innings runs.
Yeah.
Collingwood, big score. Peterson, a 200 or whatever it was. We hark back to 10, 11 because that's the last time we had any real success in Australia. So that's a bit of a blueprint, isn't it? Obviously, it's a different scenario here with the pink ball day night. But Hasib Hamid, what I like to he occupies the crease. He bats time, but he will score runs as well. Yes, he might not score a rapid rate or a much more rapid rate than Sibley did, but at least Hamid looks like he will at least attempt to put the bad ball away and not just on one side of the wicket. So I think he's doing a good job there. Burns looked a different player. Burns needs to remember who he was in the summer once Hamid joined him, and he seemed to get an injection of life, didn't he? They were rotating the strike well. They were doing that. I don't know if they did that particularly well in the second innings. Again, I only caught bits of the second innings, so you'll have to correct me or tell me. Not, they put a few runs on, didn't they? Well, not many when you look at it, but they were there for longer than the first innings. Let's put it that way. But they need to score runs. Now, I think Ollie Pope is going to be an exceptional player, and I think these conditions should suit him. But at the moment, he's not doing it. I'm not saying drop him after one test, but I'm saying if you want to balance this team right, Pope scored 39 runs in the first test. As much as I like him, as much as I think he's going to be a good player, until he just comes in and first innings, bang, gets himself 100, he's always going to be the first man. Is he in? Is he not in? Does Dan Lawrence come in for him? He can bowl a bit of spin. But I just wonder whether or not they might be looking at Pope at the moment and going, look, he's a good player. We love him, but he's not quite there yet. Can I bring in Dom Best? Can Dom Best get me 40 runs in the game or 50 runs in the game? Not in innings, but can he get me 25 per innings and pretty much do what Pope was doing at 6?
When you look at the top 7, including Butler, who's the first guy to go? Well, Milan's giving you stability at 3. Burns and Hamid. Burns is a completely different conversation. I was looking into his stats. He's played 30 test matches and only scored 300s and averages the same as Nick Compton, who scored 200s and was dropped after 10 test matches. Wow. Well, but Compton should have been dropped. I saw him at Headingley, and just before he got dropped, and he was terrified to score a run. He was terrified to attack the ball. It's not to say he should have been discarded completely, but I do remember that. And it's why does this happen with England batsmen? These openers, they get to the end of their little run as an opener, and they just suddenly become terrified to score a run. Yeah, it's just survival, isn't it? I hope Hamid doesn't follow suit, because that is my one concern with him. But sorry, are we both aligned? Sorry, going back. Yes, Pope is the fall guy. If someone goes from the top 7, it has to be Pope because everyone else has got a natural position in that lineup that they fulfill. Are we both in agreement that Jack Leach doesn't play the second Test match?
I think England would like him to play, and I think if England are feeling aggressive and wanting to go back at Australia, then yes, he will play. But then I don't know how you accommodate what you need to accommodate in the team.
Yeah,
I think it'd be. Like I say, I think if Stokes cannot, I'll say like one last time, if Stokes cannot bowl, I think you then need to, and you want a spinner, then you need to drop a batsman.
Yeah.
So that's the only way to do it.
And tail.
Yeah, and the only way to have to accommodate the spinner in that situation is to bring in Best because he can bat. So you would have Best in the team because he's a better batsman than Leach. That's the only reason.
Yeah. So we're agreed. We're agreed with a lineup. Robinson, Broad, Anderson all have to play in this Test match. And it's just that last bowling role. Do you go with Wood in back-to-back Test matches? The answer is probably no, even though he was good. Do you bring in Bess as your spin option because he gives you better balance? Or do you go with a full seam attack and you play Wokes, who gives you a genuine average 25-30 Test match sort of player? Which is like again, top 6.
Yeah, I think they go. This is what England have done. This is the England DNA at the moment, isn't it? They go with the bowler that can offer something. They like the old 3-dimensional cricketers, bat, bowl, field, and Wokes does that. So I think you go, like I say, you go Butler at 6, I think you go Wokes or Bess at 7, Wokes or Bess at 8, and then you've got 9, 10, 11, which is Robinson, Broad, Anderson. And I think the only way you can do that, unless you think Wood's batting's improved that much, and he did play well in the summer, but if you think his batting's improved to the point of Chris Wokes, then maybe you can have Wood instead of Wokes. But I don't think it is. I think Wokes is a much, much better batsman.
Yeah.
And he can score runs in Australia, as I'm sure. I mean, anyone can smack a 20 or 30, I'm sure, in a test match if it goes off. We've seen Alan Mullally score runs back in the day. Sorry, we saw him once maybe scoring. I'm getting ahead of myself. Just look him up if you don't know who Alan Mullally is, by the way. So I think that's the balance that they go with. And I think it's not necessarily a brave attacking England selection if we go that route, but I think it's a sensible, and it's one of those where they need to make sure they don't go further behind. They have a chance of winning this game, England, if they score runs, and it's about the top 4 or 5 scoring runs. If we're waiting for 6, 7, and 8 to score runs, we're not winning the test match.
No, we're
so it's you're rolling the dice on this, but you're saying to your top 5 down to from Burns to Stokes, you're saying, you guys, first innings, you score me 400, and we've got a chance of winning this test match. If they don't, well, it doesn't really matter what they're doing. Sorry, I've just been joined by my cat if my screen's moving there.
So, interesting test match going on. You throw into the mixer that it's the pink ball test match, and you were talking about this earlier in Australia. As English cricket fans, we're all going, oh, Anderson, Broad, pink ball test. It's just made for Anderson and Broad. And you joked going, well, Anderson's going to get 20 wickets. Like, that's fine. But you made a point going, Australia have played 8, won 8 in pink ball cricket. David Warner's got 300, and you were talking about the bowling averages of the Australian bowling attack being astronomical. And our record in day-night cricket is lost 3-1-1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't get to play it much. They've been playing it every year. They have that record, they have that experience. Look, it gives us a chance. I think this is the thing. I think when we spoke about the preview, we said about SCG was putting the hat in the ring for the 5th test. It might be a day-nighter. It gives us more of a chance because it plays the strengths of what this England team is, which is the likes of Anderson, Broad, Robinson, Wokes. Okay, so if we can play to the strengths of those guys, which the pink ball day-night game should do, we have a chance. It's not going to go round corners all the day. It's not nighttime under the lights for the whole test match. Probably most of the first 2 sessions are going to be daylight. It's not middle of the night cricket, is it? So it's all about when we bowl. It's all about when we bat, and whatnot, isn't it? So
you're telling me the toss is important, and making the right decision about what you do first is important.
Amazing that, isn't it? Amazing that. Who would have thought it? I mean, I feel like we're really cutting through what people don't talk about in cricket. The toss being important.
Hey, here's one for you. You have 18 months of preparation as an England cricketer or an England selector, and it's all for 18 months has been, we're getting ready for the Ashes. We're getting ready for the Ashes. You're getting ready for the Ashes. You turn up for the Ashes 3 weeks before Australia announced their starting 11, which is such an Australian, hold on, let me get my chest out sort of thing. Here's the 11 taking the pitch, beating it. And 2 days before, Jimmy Anderson's like, Jimmy Anderson's not playing. And then it's like, oh, well, Stuart Broad's not playing now either. And it's like, either you're trying to be ultra tactical and too clever, or what have you been thinking about for 18 months?
From England, sorry, did you say?
Yeah, from England.
For a second there. Yeah, I don't know. I think Silverwood coming in partway through this kind of, round, whatever you want to call it, this period doesn't necessarily help that preparation, because there might have been some plans in place. Saying that, the plans in place previously probably wouldn't have been any good anyway. So look, they put a lot on Jofra Archer being available. That was the guy can hold about a little bit, but also he's exceptional. He's not just pace, he's exceptional. And I think that they were building, he was the spearhead of the attack. So that was all important. I think they would have expected by now that we would have had a set pair of openers. The reason they keep giving Burns test matches because they believe that he is the best out there. The reason they kept giving Sibley another chance because they believed he was the best out there. Number 3, where was we at number 3 a year and a half ago? I mean, it was probably Joe Denley, wasn't it, before when we first started this cycle?
Yeah, it was.
So we're not much further on. I like Milan. I think he's a different cricketer than what he was when he first played for England, but we're still not. It's a bit all over the shop, isn't it? It feels like one of those Ashes winters where we are undercooked. We are a little bit all over the place. There isn't really a clear 11. There isn't.
We're not
really
very good with the bat.
No, well, that's it, and that's not because the players aren't good. They are good players, but they're not proven Test international cricketers yet. There's no way we can say Burns, Hamid, Milan, and Pope are established Test cricketers. Yes, they've played games of cricket at Test level, but they're not established. They're not world class international cricketers. They're all there trying to be something. We're just not there. It's one of those. It's one of those Ashes down under where we're just not there. We need, maybe in the next couple of years, maybe the next time we go, we'll be more organised.
Yeah,
but then we probably won't be with some of these star names, and some of these other lads are going to have to become the star names.
it
It just
well
doesn't.
do, mate.
Yeah, we could be talking about 4-1 England win this Ashes series, probably not. But at the moment, we look a bit all over the place, and this is where we need to go back to that England mentality that we've seen over the last few years. How do they respond to a bad game and a bad defeat? Do they come back, which they generally have done? They do tend to fight back and come back strong in the next test. If they go 2-0 down, just lump on 5-0.
Yeah. Cheers, Glenn. Cheers, Glenn. 5-0, mate.
But it's only if they go 2-0 down. If they can get a draw or a win out of this test match, I honestly think England will go strength to strength, and we'll be talking about players completely differently by the 4th or 5th test.
Yeah, could well, but it's career defining. I said this in the review pod. I said, Rory Burns, this could be his last series as an opener. If he's played 34 series and average 34 tests, averages below 30, you're on the heat, mate. Wrapping it up then, mate, getting into predictions of what we're expecting from the test match. Just looking back over Adelaide, 95 we won there. Atherton running off with a stump after they got hammered throughout the whole series. I can remember that at the VHS. Angus Fraser got a load of wickets. Lost by 205 runs in 98. Lost by an innings and 51 runs in 2002. Lost by 6 wickets in 2016. Won in 2010. Graham Swan, innings and 71 runs.
My first ever England win abroad. It took me quite a few attempts to get it. I saw a lot of draws and a lot of losses before I got that first one.
Savour it. Since then, we've lost by 218 runs in 2013 and 120 runs in 2017. 2021, we are going to
draw. I want to say win. We've got a chance. We won one of those. No, 2 of those, didn't we? Oh my word. We really shouldn't be winning this test match. There's nothing from looking back at the first test or looking back at where we are to say that we should win this test, Rob, but let's go for it. Let's win this test. England wins this test. It's 1-1. The series needs it. 1-1. Come on. Idiot.
I said before the start of day 4, I replied to Sky Sports Cricket and I said, my heart tells me that England are going to score 300 and have the Aussies 2 down by the end of day 4, but my head says that the game will be wrapped up before tea time, and we got bowled out for 77 for 8 on day 4. I'm in a similar thing. My head tells me that Anderson and Broad are ultra undercooked. I worry about their fitness because they haven't quite been fit yet. And our top order is an absolute shambolic mess. So I am going, I hate myself for it. I'm going for an Australian win. We are going to be 2-0 down going to the G on Boxing Day.
I think you're right, Rob. I really do think you're right. But I just want to go with that England win. Fond memories of the Adelaide on the grass bank in front of the beautiful old what is it? Oh, what's it called? I forget the name of the beer, EU beer or whatever it's called. On the scoreboard. But I'm going to channel those vibes, and we're going to get a win in Adelaide. Is my heart, but head. This England team needs a rocket at the moment, doesn't it? It's simple as that. It's players that need to understand that this could be, like you said, career defining, and I'm sure they do. But they need to play like it. And I don't mean go smacking the ball all over the place or defending like the life depends on it. They just need to go out and play some cricket. Hasib Hamid when he come back to Notts this last year, he's just played with a lot more of a relaxed demeanour. I'm not saying he needs to go swishing outside off stump too much, but he needs to be a little bit more positive. Milan, do what you've been doing in the second. Look pretty good. Root, we need Root. We need to jump on his shoulders, don't we? We need 10 blokes on his shoulders. And Stokes, who knows? If Stokes comes back in this test and suddenly he's got the cobwebs dusted off, we have a chance. We have to look at the positives like that, don't we, as England fans? And it'll be a bit easier to watch this time. I think it's 4 a.m. English time it starts. I might be wrong. It might be 3 a.m., but I think it's 4 a.m. So it's going to be one of those test series where set your alarm for after lunch. You know, I mean, you maybe first day you want to. This is what I'll probably be doing anyway. It's like half past 6. Get up, breakfast, 2 sessions of cricket. Happy days.
Yeah. Oh no, exciting times, mate. Looking forward to it. Awesome to have Ashes fever kind of rolling around. We'll be back after the second test is done. So that could be anywhere between day 2 and day 5. We will see you again very shortly. Thank you so much for listening.